The second segment was meant to lighten the mood. A pre-recorded montage of Keith's career highlights rolled on the big screen. Sold-out stadiums, chart-topping singles, awards shows, and behind-the-scenes moments with fans. The audience cheered, clapping in rhythm to one of his most famous hits playing in the background. But even through the applause, Keith's body language had shifted. His posture was guarded now, no longer leaning forward in open conversation, but slightly reclined, arms crossed loosely, a faint furrow between his brows. Kelly noticed it, but she kept her host's smile firmly in place. When the montage ended, she tried again to draw him back in. "Okay, so that was just a little taste of your incredible journey," she said warmly. "You've inspired so many people, Keith, including me. I remember watching you on stage back in *. Yeah, it's been quite a ride," Keith interrupted, his voice polite but clipped. The interruption wasn't aggressive, but it was noticeable. Kelly blinked, regrouped. "Well," she said, "I'm sure the fans are dying to know what's next. New album, new tour dates. Give us the scoop." Keith hesitated. "I'll say this. The album is personal. More personal than I've ever gone before." "Personal, how?" Kelly asked. There was a pause. Keith's eyes narrowed ever so slightly, like he was weighing his words. "Personal in the sense that it's my story. Parts of my life I haven't talked about publicly." Kelly's curiosity spiked. "So, is this about the last couple of years? The challenges you've faced?" Keith looked at her, expression unreadable. "Kelly," he began, slowly, "do you really want to go there again?" The crowd reacted with a ripple of "oh" noises again. The tension that had briefly loosened was back in full force. Kelly kept her tone light, but her voice had an edge now. "Hey, I'm just asking the questions the fans are curious about." Keith leaned forward, placing his elbows on his knees. "And I'm telling you, there are some things I'm not going to unpack here. Not now, not in front of a live audience." For a moment, silence hung heavy in the studio. You could almost hear the buzz of the stage lights. The producer scrambled behind the scenes, one frantically waving a move on cue card from the wings. But Kelly, maybe out of instinct, maybe because she didn't want to look like she'd backed down, pushed once more. "You've always been so open before," she said, her smile thinning just slightly. "It's just surprising to see you shut down like this." That did it. Keith's jaw flexed, and when he spoke again, his voice was low, but with an unmistakable edge. "It's not shutting down, Kelly. It's drawing a boundary. And I think, maybe we've crossed it." The audience let out an awkward mixture of murmurs and nervous laughter. Kelly tried to play it off, chuckling softly. "Well, I didn't mean to cross any lines." But Keith was already sitting back, shaking his head slightly. "No, you didn't mean to, but you did, and honestly." He trailed off, glancing toward the side of the stage. Kelly leaned forward. "Honestly, what?" Keith exhaled sharply. "Honestly, I'm not comfortable continuing this conversation." The room froze. Even the house band had gone still. Somewhere in the back row, a phone camera clicked to life, capturing what would later flood social media within hours. Kelly's smile faltered for the first time. "Keith, I came here to talk about music," he said, his voice rising slightly now, the calm veneer slipping instead. "I've been asked about cancellations, about my personal life, and about things I'm not ready to share. That's not what I agreed to." Kelly's cheeks flushed, and she raised her hands. Again, Okay, fair enough. We can move on." But Keith was already shaking his head. "No, I think I'm done." The audience gasped, a wave of murmurs breaking through the room. Kelly's eyes widened. "Wait, you mean?" Keith stood, pulling the small microphone pack from his back pocket and setting it on the chair. "Yeah, I mean I'm leaving. I'm sorry, Kelly, but this isn't working for me." It happened fast. One moment he was seated, the next he was walking toward the edge of the stage. The audience erupted, some booing, some calling out, "We love you, Keith," while others fumbled for their phones to record the unfolding drama. Kelly stood too, her hands clasped in front of her, looking after him. "Keith, I really didn't mean," she started, but her voice trailed off as he stepped past the cameras. The crew scrambled to adjust, cutting to a commercial break earlier than planned. The band played an awkward fill-in riff as producers rushed to Kelly's side. Asterisk. Offstage, Keith moved briskly through the hallway, his boots thudding against the floor. A stagehand called after him. Sir, your car's not here yet. Asterisk, then I'll wait outside, Keith said, without slowing down. Asterisk, back on set. Kelly took a deep breath as the cameras went live again. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Well, she said, her voice light but tight. Sometimes live television surprises you. Let's take a moment and we'll be right back. Asterisk, the audience clapped hesitantly. The energy fractured. People exchanged glances, whispers, spreading through the rows. Asterisk, outside, Keith stood in the sharp glare of the midday sun, pulling his phone from his pocket. His face was tight with frustration, but his hands were steady as he scrolled through missed calls and texts. He knew within minutes the story would be everywhere. Keith Urban walks off Kelly Clarkson's show. Headlines would spin it. Social media would pick it apart. And fans would debate whose side they were on. Asterisk, but in that moment, Keith didn't care about the optics. To him, it wasn't about drama or attention. It was about making sure he controlled his own story, and not letting anyone else, not even someone as well-meaning as Kelly Clarkson, take that from him. Asterisk, inside. Kelly sat through the rest of the taping with her usual professionalism, but her mind replayed the confrontation over and over. She wondered if she had pushed too far. If her curiosity had crossed into something that felt invasive. Asterisk, and somewhere out there, the internet was already on fire. Clips from the walk-off were being uploaded to TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Comment sections lit up with theories, support, and outrage. Asterisk, by the time Keith's car finally pulled up, his phone was already buzzing with messages from friends, fellow musicians, and reporters. He ignored them all, sliding into the back seat and shutting the door firmly. As the car pulled away, cameras from the paparazzi flashed in the distance. Keith looked out the window, his reflection faint against the city skyline. Asterisk, the interview had lasted less than 15 minutes, but the fallout, that would last far longer. Asterisk. Asterisk, the set of the Kelly Clarkson show had a different kind of electricity that morning. Backstage, crew members zipped between cables and lighting rigs, adjusting everything to perfection. The air smelled faintly of fresh coffee and the hairspray that clung to the space like an invisible mist. Audience members were still murmuring, excitement bubbling as they waited for the show to start. Asterisk. This episode was special. Kelly's guest wasn't just any musician. He was Keith Urban, a country icon whose career spanned decades, whose songs had been soundtracks to millions of lives. The crowd adored him, and when his name was announced, the room erupted into wild cheers and whistles. Asterisk, Kelly stepped forward to greet him as the cameras rolled, her trademark wide smile lighting up the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the one and only Keith Urban, she called out. Asterisk, Keith walked on stage in his signature laid-back style, fitted black t-shirt, worn in jeans, and that effortless grin that seemed to charm without trying. He hugged Kelly briefly, the two sharing a few words that were drowned out by applause. He settled into the armchair opposite hers, crossing one leg over the other. Asterisk, Kelly began with easy banter. Keith, you've been on the road for so long, touring, recording, just doing all the things. Do you ever sleep? Asterisk, he chuckled. On planes, in buses, in the back of a car. Anywhere I can, he replied, and the audience laughed warmly. Asterisk, but the interview didn't stay light for long. Kelly, who had always prided herself on being genuine with her guests, leaned forward slightly. So, you've been touring for decades, she said with a friendly but probing tone. But lately, there's been talk about you stepping back. Is that true? Asterisk. Keith's smile froze for a fraction of a second. His eyes darted briefly toward the audience, then back to Kelly. Well, you know, sometimes rumors are just rumors, he said, shrugging lightly. Asterisk. Kelly, sensing that there was more under the surface, pressed on. But you did cancel some shows recently, right? People are wondering if there's something you're not telling them. Asterisk. The reaction from the audience was instant. A low murmur, a few drawn-out "oh-oh-oh-oh-oh-h's." The atmosphere shifted. Keith's smile tightened at the edges, his posture stiffening. Asterisk. I don't really think my personal choices about my schedule are anybody's business, he said evenly, but there was a weight behind his voice now. Asterisk. Kelly tried to laugh it off. Oh, come on, Keith. Your fans just care. That's all. They're invested in your music, your journey. Asterisk.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, Keith cut in, his tone still calm but clipped. But there's a line between caring and prying. Asterisk, the audience went quiet, sensing something was brewing. The band in the corner shifted uncomfortably, one of the guitarists glancing toward the producers, as if to ask if they should cut to a break. Asterisk, Kelly adjusted in her seat, refusing to back down but still smiling for the cameras. Hey, I'm just asking what a lot of people are wondering. You've been open before about struggles, about asterisk. Keith's eyes sharpened. And I've shared what I've chosen to share. That doesn't mean I have to answer every question, just because someone asks on television. Asterisk, there was a noticeable pause. The audience didn't know whether to clap, laugh, or hold their breath. Kelly's gaze softened for a split second, but then she leaned forward, her voice dropping slightly. Keith, are you okay? Asterisk, that question, simple, maybe even well-intentioned, seemed to hit differently. Keith blinked, his jaw tightening. Kelly, I'm fine, he said, his voice low now, measured. But this feels a little less like a friendly chat, and a little more like an interrogation. A few nervous chuckles trickled from the audience, but they quickly faded. From the corner of her eye, Kelly caught a frantic wave from her producer, signaling her to shift topics. But the conversation had already taken on a momentum of its own. Asterisk, Keith leaned back in his chair, resting an arm over the side. His posture looked relaxed, but his eyes betrayed the tension. Look, I came here to talk about the music, about the new tour, not to be put under a microscope. Asterisk, Kelly held her hands up in a mock surrender gesture. All right, let's get back to the music. Tell us about the new single. Asterisk, but Keith didn't move on right away. Instead, he let the silence hang, the weight of the moment pressing on every person in the room. Finally, he spoke, his tone quieter but firm. You know, Kelly, sometimes people forget that just because we're public figures, it doesn't mean we're public property. Asterisk, the words hung in the air, resonating far deeper than just the conversation at hand. Asterisk, somewhere in the audience, a woman nodded slowly, as if she understood exactly what he meant. Kelly, still smiling for the cameras, shifted her legs and tried to steer the ship back to safer waters. I hear you, I do. And for the record, I respect your boundaries, she said. But there was a flicker of unease in her expression. Asterisk, Keith gave a polite smile in return, but it didn't reach his eyes. The easy, playful energy that had filled the room at the start was gone, replaced by something taut, something almost brittle. Asterisk, as they moved into the next segment, the laughter felt forced, the applause a little too quick, and every glance between host and guest seemed charged with unspoken words. Asterisk, what no one knew yet was that this was only the beginning. The real confrontation was still to come. Asterisk.